Good morning. This is Monday, October 16th, and I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
I'm Harry Smith. Welcome to CBS This Morning.
Good morning. Morning,
morning.
Harry. Let's get to what many of you who are interested in Wall Street are thinking about this morning. Let's tell you about the overseas stock markets. They are down. There has been no panic after Friday's 190-point drop in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This morning in London, stocks fell about 7%. In Tokyo, stocks took their biggest fall of the year, dropping 2%. This morning, we're going to look at Friday's tumble and today's possible reaction and what it means to individual investors. And also this morning, we're going to look at a controversy at the U.S. Civil Rights Commission over a speech on homosexuality and minority rights.
And later this morning, the 1980s. We'll look back at the people and events. Already we're looking back at the 80s, at the people and events that made this decade memorable, from the Reagans to Madonna to Tiananmen Square. And while the A's and Giants battle in the World Series, we'll go live to Florida to meet some baseball heroes like Earl Weaver, Curt Flood, and Paul Blair, who are about to get a second chance in the new Senior Baseball League. Plus, actor Kevin Dillon. Suddenly, he is much more than Matt Dillon's little brother. Now, Charles Osgood has this morning's news. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Harry and Kathleen. Good morning to you, everybody. Well, so far, today has not been a black Monday on foreign stock markets, a blue Monday maybe. Prices tumbled overseas in reaction to Wall Street's Friday the 13th decline, but investors did not panic. Trading is still in progress in London, and so we go now live to Peter Van Sant. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Charles. Well, if London is your guide, it will likely be a bad day on Wall Street. Prices here have really been jumping around this morning. They opened about 200 points down, improved about 70 points over the first 2 hours, and now they're heading south again. They're down more than 170 points.
It's been a tension-filled, nerve-wracking morning in London as analysts watch share prices tumble as the market opened.
Well, we've seen a very dramatic markdown to start the day. Prices for the index was marked down nearly 200 points, obviously a reflection of Wall Street, but we've seen a bit of buying subsequently.
Brokers say most shareholders have taken the advice of the morning papers and stayed relatively calm. It has now become a waiting game as London's eyes turn to New York and the opening of the stock exchange there.
Both the hopes and particularly the fears today are reasonably balanced, and the market now will wait to see what happens on Wall Street.
2 years ago on Black Monday, London's market fell 250 points. Some analysts here are worried that the ghost of Black Monday may haunt them again if there's any panic selling in New York.
So far, fears of a stock bloodbath have subsided somewhat here. Right now, it's just follow the leader while London waits for New York to make its move. Charlie?
Of course, the comparison is made between this morning and what happened on the morning of October the 19th, 1987. Are there differences and similarities, Peter?
The differences are the central banks throughout the world are now experienced at this. They know how to react when those stock prices, if they were to take a severe tumble, they know how to pump in money now and how to hopefully stop the fall. But there is also concern, particularly here in Europe, that some central banks may be reticent to pump in large amounts of cash out of fear of storing up inflation. So there is still some doubt here.
Thank you. Prices also slid on the Tokyo Exchange today, but not nearly as steeply as they did during the 1987 collapse. Bill Whitaker has the closing results from Japan.
It was the biggest drop on the Tokyo stock market this year, down 1.8% from Friday. Analysts say government and market efforts over the weekend to calm investor jitters and convince them to hold the line kept the market from dropping even further.
We learned a good lesson from Black Monday of 1987. So we have know-how in how to deal with such crisis, potential crisis.
Other markets throughout Asia registered major declines today. Only the rich Tokyo market was able to limit the damage. Over the weekend, the world waited to see how Tokyo would respond to the drop in New York. Now Tokyo says the ball is back in New York's court.
Anything short of a fairly substantial decline in New York, I suspect that the Tokyo market would hold up reasonably well and probably even rebound in several days.
Investors here fear a repeat of Black Monday 2 years ago when a crash in New York brought markets down around the world. Now they're hoping for a calm response in New York to help return stability to world markets. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Tokyo.
Whatever happens, it's sure to be a busy day on Wall Street. Christine Negroni is reporting live from there this morning. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning, Charlie. Well, it's already very busy outside Wall Street. Some might even say it's like a circus here. And now it's up to federal and stock exchange officials to try and keep a bear from taking center ring. The news on Wall Street this morning was Wall Street. Vendors ordered extra papers. But what news will be made here when the exchanges open is anyone's guess. Expert forecasts ran the gamut. Some made dire predictions that the party's over. Others were more certain that federal controls to prevent a crash will work. Among those arriving early to work this morning, we found some optimism and one man with plans to invest.
I don't know whether they'll be bargains or not, but they certainly will be more reasonably valued than they were last week and the week before that.
Are you nervous today?
No, I'm not.
Why is that?
I don't think what happened on Black Monday 1987 is going to happen today.
What makes you feel confident that there's a difference this time around?
Oh, well, safeguards put in and all that.
Well, there is some confidence that those federal controls we've all been hearing so much about will help in the market today. One of those controls will interrupt the market if there's a steep drop in stock prices. And yesterday, the Federal Reserve Board made a big announcement that it would be making money available to banks, and that is also expected to help out once the bell rings this morning. Charlie?
Thank you, Christine. Our other big story this morning, Hurricane Jerry. It knifed inland during the night near Galveston, Texas. James Hattori is in Galveston with the latest on the damage. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Charlie. The task of surveying the damage left by Hurricane Jerry is just getting underway this morning. The storm turned out to be a little more strong than some people were expecting. Still, it looks like most people here are lucky. Winds gusting up to 100 miles per hour whipped across Galveston Island. The storm blew so much spray across Seawall Avenue, drivers couldn't make their way to safety. 2 bodies were pulled from the water early today. Authorities aren't sure what caused the deaths.
It's a possibility they might have been in a vehicle that may have went over to Seawall, or they may have been located, or may have fallen off of the pier there at 61st Street.
For many, the storm was simply an inconvenience.
Our biggest problem is lights, and of course Houston Lighting and Power is working as fast as they possibly can.
While most of the residents here battened down for the night, emergency crews kept an all-night vigil. Any problems?
Just keeping the truck upright so far.
Residents at this senior citizens home panicked when the storm hit.
My window broke.
And what'd you do?
Couldn't see nothing. It was dark. The light was all out.
Police this morning let traffic back into the low-lying west end of Galveston, allowing residents and property owners to check on flooding. Tornadoes are adding to the worries. A twister enlarged the view from this hotel room when it knocked out a wall. Coincidentally, the hotel manager says that very room had been remodeled just 6 weeks ago. Obviously, it's due for another job now. But it looks like, from what we can tell, most of the area residents have escaped that kind of devastation. Charlie?
Thank you, James Hattori in Galveston. The countdown clock is running again at the Kennedy Space Center. Fueling of the shuttle Atlantis begins this morning after a 5-day delay to replace a faulty computer. NASA officials say they're ready to go tomorrow if the weather holds. If the courts don't step in to block launch of the nuclear-powered Galileo Jupiter probe, and if anti-nuclear protesters don't interfere. The Oakland A's now hold a commanding 2-game lead in their World Series showdown with the San Francisco Giants. The A's' Terry Steinbach toppled the Giants in the 4th inning with a 3-run homer into the left field seats. The A's pitchers never gave the Giants a break. And at the final out, the score was Oakland 5, the Giants 1. The series resumes tomorrow night across the bay in Candlestick Park. Hockey great Gordie Howe was in the crowd in Edmonton, Canada last night as Wayne Gretzky led the LA Kings against his former team, the Oilers. Gretzky tied it up with the 1,851st goal of his career, breaking Howe's all-time NHL scoring record. And Gretzky later scored the winning goal in overtime. They don't call him the great one for nothing. Harry, Kathleen?
Let's get a check on our weather this morning. Mark McEwen is off all week this week, and Larry Menti of
KFMB Television in San Diego.
Weatherman in San Diego. Easiest job in the country, huh? Don't you think? I come out here, you're having the exact same weather. Exact same weather we experience in San Diego all the time.
I don't believe that.
That's not true.
Right now, oh, yes, it is.
Is it really?
It is. It's Indian summer, you call it, when it happens out here, right? And it's beautiful as we look at the map along the East Coast. You've had temperatures in the 70s and the 80s along the East Coast. Right now, in 68 in Savannah, it's 60 in New York City. It's not going to last too much longer, though, because there's a real big system here that's now causing rain along the Great Lakes. It'll be moving in the next couple of days, dramatically dropping the temperatures down into the 40s, in some cases the 30s. Let's take a look at Jerry also. You just heard about it hitting Galveston. Right now, it is at the Louisiana-Texas border, causing some thunderstorms. It should cause rain for the Tennessee Valley over the next couple of days. It has weakened dramatically with gusts of only 40 miles per hour at this point. And talk about winter, we got snow from Cheyenne all the way to Denver in the foothill of the Rockies. And I have to mention San Diego, 61 degrees right now in San Diego under sunny skies. That's a quick look at the national forecast. Now let's take a look at your weather.
Good morning, everybody. Tropical Depression Jerry is quickly leaving the state of Texas, as you can see. Here's our forecast for today. It should leave us with some dry weather for much of the afternoon, a high of 88. There is a chance we see some more rain with a new front coming in this evening.
In the next half hour, we'll take a closer look at Jerry and where it's going.
Stock markets from Tokyo to London have reacted somewhat cautiously this morning to Friday's 190-point drop in the Dow. Prices are down, especially in London, where they're down about 7%, but the atmosphere has generally been described as calm. Kenneth Liebler is the president of the American Stock Exchange, and he joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do those show you? The 7% drop in London, approximately a 2% drop in Tokyo.
Well, certainly that's not nearly as bad as we saw during the Black Monday experience 2 years ago. And I think today, Tokyo is far more important than London. So the fact that there was a very modest drop in Tokyo, we think, is a positive sign.
However, they were sending a signal to American markets that they were unhappy with American takeover activity. I find that somewhat ironic because they're very much a part of American takeover activity.
I think that's true, and I think it's important to remember that Friday's drop in the market seemed to have been triggered by and seems largely due to the disappointment in takeover activity, I think, which is a very different set of circumstances than occurred 2 years ago.
Over the weekend, the Federal Reserve, Treasury, the SEC all said that they will throw money at you today. Do you think that's going to calm the American market?
Well, we think that'll help because back again in 1987, one of the problems that exacerbated the crash was a liquidity crisis, where brokers couldn't adequately borrow funds in order to get them through that period. And the fact that the Fed has stepped up early and indicated that they'd be prepared to supply banks with liquidity for that purpose should avert concerns about liquidity.
How about the circuit breakers? A couple things were put in place supposedly after the October '87 crash. Have stops been put in place to avoid any kind of disaster today?
Yes, the stops are in place. Fortunately, they have not yet been triggered since they have been put in place. But should the Dow Jones Industrial Averages drop 250 points, all financial markets, that is the stock, options, and futures markets, will close for a 1-hour period.
All right, can you explain to me if there's a drop of 150, a drop of 250, what will happen?
Well, at 150, nothing will happen. At 250, the New York Stock Exchange, the American Stock Exchange, and all of the options and future markets will cease trading for a 1-hour period. Then we will reopen again, and should the market drop another 150 points from that point, we would then close again for a 2-hour period, which would likely take us to the end of the day. So there's really a circuit breaker at the 250 level and at the 400 level.
A lot of people still suggest that one of the basic problems is that all of the markets don't coordinate with each other. Do you find that as a problem?
I think it could be a problem, and it certainly was a problem back in 1987, and the circuit breakers really are designed to try to do that, so there is uniformity in terms of when markets are open and when markets are closed.
What would you like to see happen or be done?
In terms of the circuit breakers? Well, I think what we have in place is adequate. I think as volatility, though, increases year by year, we might have to look at those bands to see whether 250 points is still an adequate level at which to close markets.
As your exchange and many are going through some angst because of investor fears about merger activity, what would you like to see happen, and who do you think should take some action? Should this be Congress's call, the SEC? Who should put some kind of rules on takeover activity?
Well, I think Congress has been discussing and has passed some legislation relating to takeover activity. And I'm not sure that any additional legislation at this point is necessary. I think the market is correcting that. And I think as you see some disappointments in the large transactions that were supposed to have taken place and don't, the markets are going to correct for that disappointment by lowering the prices of those takeover securities. And I think that is very much what happened on Friday.
Kenneth Liebler, thank you for joining us this morning. Harry?
It's 15 minutes after the hour. Next, the Civil Rights Commissioner takes heat for a speech on minorities, and still ahead, the National League's not baseball's only senior circuit.
You've watched while they eat butter and you've learned to go without. You've been tested, you've been tempted, and you've managed to hold out. Well, now your day has come.
Now from McCormick comes Best of Butter. All the sweet, rich flavor of natural butter without the cholesterol. McCormick's Best of Butter.
Now your day has come.
I really didn't understand the treatment they recommended, and I wasn't sure it was the best choice for me, so I'm thinking of getting a second opinion.
It's intelligent to get a second opinion. When you're considering surgery, a second opinion can give you valuable reassurance, help you understand the benefits and risk involved. Medicare usually covers second opinions, so for your own peace of mind, ask for one.
Man Eye Clinic with locations throughout Houston. Call now for an appointment.
Who will be the governor who fights for them against crime and drugs? A political novice, some professional politician, or someone serious who will bring the whole power of Texas down on the killers of our kids?
I'm Jack Raines. We're going to toughen the drug laws, back up our law enforcement, and stress education. And we're going to send a message. Nobody messes with the children of Texas.
Let's get serious, Texas. Jack Raines for governor.
Sono i miei conti in banca, le spese in ancora mi mandano in rovina.
Se ci vuole il conto di riserva, basta intendere il saldo minimo richiesto e non avrai più spese di banca.
E meraviglia, Nellina, la povera.
The chairman of the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, William Allen, finds himself in the center of a storm of controversy this morning because of a speech he made titled, "Blacks, Animals, Homosexuals, What is a Minority?" William Allen joins us live from Los Angeles, and joining us from Washington is Eleanor Holmes Norton, a professor of law at Georgetown University and a former chairman of the Equal Opportunity Commission. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Title has certainly stirred up lots of response. Your your colleagues on the commission find it nothing less than reprehensible. Why title a speech something like that, Mr. Allen?
Well, of course, titles in my business usually refer to the contents of the speech. And my view of the matter is that this little speech is accurately represented by that title. We have a sensitive problem in this country, a lot of taboos which this title brought out that I didn't expect, and I'm glad to have seen it, because it tells us something about where people's minds are. I believe they've seen this title rather in the form of looking into a mirror. They're really seeing themselves and their own fears.
But you talk about sensitivity. That's what your fellow commissioner is to charge, is that there was no sensitivity on your part.
Well, of course, they have charged that, but you know, my fellow commissioners didn't read the speech before they spoke. They only heard the title. They were given the chance to read the speech before speaking, but didn't choose to take it. That may be the way things operate in Washington. I'm not one to say. But I do know, in fact, that the important question is, will we ever reach the day when we can be safe from treating various groups of people as animals? And that's the question I wanted to talk about. It's the question I addressed. I think it comes through very clearly in the speech.
Ms. Norton, is Mr. Allen getting undue heat for all of this?
I don't believe so. I wasn't very reassured by reading the speech, by the way, but the title of the speech is so pejorative and so insensitive. We wouldn't expect it from a federal official of any kind, and certainly not from the chair of the Civil Rights Commission. Look, we live in a country today where there are racial incidents, brutal beatings of homosexuals all across the country. Almost 200 campuses have experienced terrible racial polarization. The whole country was polarized racially during the Reagan years. The Civil Rights Commission deserves some credit for having lowered its voice in recent years. And now Mr. Allen raises the voice of the commission again, and the commission is to be congratulated that they sent a signal not only to him but to the country that they don't want to go back to the bad old days when the commission was the prime polarizing influence in the United States.
This brings up the larger subject of the role of the commission and what it should be. People have said, especially over the last couple of years, that the commission has become too politicized and that its actual function and mission may have been lost. What's your response to that, Mr. Allen?
Well, I think the claim of politicization is a reading out of context. It is true the commission was bedeviled for the last 8 or 9 years, but the commission has always been controversial. It's always spoken to sensitive issues, and anyone who forgets the past of the commission in that respect is being, I think, too casual. I believe it's important for us to recognize that there's a debate in the country. The debate is, are we going to talk about America as a colorblind society with a colorblind constitution, not simply in some distant, unforeseeable future, but starting now? I don't know how it is for people who work in the context of Washington. That's not my realm, but I do believe that going there to ask people to describe a civil rights future for America that is colorblind is akin to going to hell to ask people to describe heaven. They ain't ever going to get there, and they don't have any idea about it.
Ms. Norton, do you think the commission has lost its way, lost its vision?
It certainly lost the vision it had for 20 years. When it became the chief critic of the decisions of the Supreme Court and the statutes of the Congress had passed, so much so that the civil rights community asked that the commission be abolished some years ago, and Congress, in response, collapsed it severely. One begins to wonder if it has a function today, whether or not in times of deficit, its funds ought not be given over to enforcement. We certainly don't need at the top of the government a commission which is a crude kind of red flag body that stirs the waters rather than calms the racial waters.
Mr. Allen, we only have about 20 or 30 seconds left. The president has reportedly been interested in getting a resignation offer from you. You gave it to him more than 5 weeks ago. Will he accept it, and when?
Well, I don't think anyone can speak for the president. He'll have to speak for himself. He never signaled to me an interest in having a resignation offer. My resignation was voluntary and to accommodate the ordinary cycle of change at the commission. I believe that we are in for a period in which we see a renewed emphasis on candid discussion. We've not had that heretofore. We've not had it in the kind of remarks that Ms. Norton has made this morning, but we're going to get it sooner or later.
William Allen, Eleanor Holmes Norton, thank you both very much for joining us. Do appreciate it. 22 minutes after the hour. We'll be back.
Absolute minimum prices. Now Gerland's brings you absolute minimum prices 24 hours a day, so you get more high-quality food with less money. Look how much you save. These White Rain products are just 89 cents each. Sweet and juicy California cantaloupe, just 49 cents each. And Country Pride split fryer breast are just 99 cents a pound. Our Three's a Crowd policy means you check out faster than ever. Get more food with less money. Go to Gerland's.
Mr. Unknown Yuppie, you said you wanted top quality furniture at discount prices, is that right? Well, look, Mr. Yuppie, what Gallery Furniture has in store for you. Calling all Yuppies, come to Gallery Furniture, 6006 I-45 North, between Tidwell and Parker. You'll be amazed to find the type of furniture you want. Quality, traditional furniture at discount prices. You'll find it, Mr. and Mrs. Yuppie, at Gallery Furniture. Gallery Furniture, Mr. Yuppie, really will save you money.
Gallery Furniture, 694-5570.
It's so hard to believe that 3 months ago I was a size 12 and now I'm a size 2 petite. That's 10 sizes. Since being part of this program, I feel better than I've ever felt before. I feel light on my feet. I have energy. I feel good about myself. I enjoy looking in the mirror. I like what I see.
Call 455-5555 to lose up to 1.5 pounds a day every day as we help adjust your metabolism. Don't put it off another minute. Call 455-5555 now.
If you don't get help at Charter, get help somewhere.
Having a
a hard time getting up in the morning? Well, what you need is the CBS Wake Up Workout with The Price is Right. First, you loosen up by stretching your arms, lifting those legs, working your knees, and shaking your cares away. And now that you've warmed up, run, 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 and jump, jump, jump. Wake up and work out weekday mornings with The Price is Right.
No pain, all game.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sandy Rivera. This is an 11 News Update. Jerry continues to create havoc as it moves on into East Texas this morning, damaging homes and uprooting trees. The storm is now heading in the direction of Lufkin, but it slammed ashore last night just east of Galveston, packing winds up to 100 miles an hour. At least 2 people were killed. 11 News reporter Philip Bruce joins us now. He has the latest. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Sandy. For most people in Galveston, the intensity of this storm came as a big surprise. It battered this island with the strongest winds seen since Hurricane Alicia. Just after midnight, 2 bodies were pulled from the surf near the 61st Street Pier. A man in his 20s and his young daughter were swept into the Gulf during the storm and drowned. Police say it appears they were sightseeing, trying to catch a glimpse of the hurricane. It isn't clear whether they were walking or driving. No car has been found yet. Out on the West End, the storm broke lots of windows and damaged a few light buildings, but basically the island has gotten off lucky. Parts of the West End, though, are still without electricity. And now with daybreak, authorities and the rest of us will get a first-hand look at just how bad that damage is. We don't expect it to be major, although it is widespread with lots of broken windows. Back to you, Sandy.
Thank you very much, Phil. Philip Bruce reporting live from Galveston this morning. On his tour of Texas coastal cities, Jerry also paid a visit to Kemah and Seabrook. He didn't stay very long, but he left clear signs of his fury. Jerry left his calling cards everywhere as he damaged several waterfront neighborhoods. The storm roared across Toddville Road, ignoring the speed limit signs, and he revved his engines just a little faster than a lot of folks expected. As people in Baytown are waking up this morning, they're beginning to see what Jerry left behind. The worst damage was at the San Jacinto Medical Center. Dozens of windows blew out when one of 3 confirmed tornadoes in Baytown hit that hospital. Doctors say they treated 2 patients who were hurt when the glass blew out. The other patients were moved to safer rooms in the hospital. There was scattered damage throughout Baytown, but police say there was no serious injury or fatalities. And that's the news. Mario has a complete weather forecast for the Houston area after these words.
On the next Health Matters, meet a budding young singing star whose entire career was threatened by a simple allergy, hay fever.
What used to be so easy for me was becoming an effort because I'd always feel like I had to clear, felt like I always had congestion.
Also, learn about people who claim to be allergic to everything around them. That's all on the next Health Matters, your complete source of medical news and health information.
Saturday at 5 on Channel 11. Before you choose a body shop to paint your car, ask a few questions. Do they care about the environment as much as your car?
Hi, Mr. Pressman. The tourist is all set.
Will the work be done at your convenience?
Okay, we'll see you at 1.
Are they preferred by corporations nationwide for dependability and service? And do they back their work in writing?
Great, I will.
If you don't know, you better get Mako.
Good morning, everybody. Tropical Depression Jerry is on its way out of the state of Texas. I think it's along the Texas-Louisiana border. There's a position that still has winds of 35 miles an hour. And here's a look at our own forecast. It's a winter. It's a dry one, too. Slight chance of a shower maybe tonight. High temperature should be about 88 degrees. 30% chance of rain this evening.
Thanks a million, Mario. Be sure and join us again for the latest news and weather at 8:25. I'm Sandy Rivera. I'll see you in an hour.
This is my husband, Paul. He's under a lot of pressure. But now he's taking charge of his health, eating right by cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook with Puritan, with no cholesterol and proven 94% saturated fat-free. Better than any other kind of oil.
Your wife called sneakers before dinner?
Hey, Mr. Principal, carry your books?
Anytime.
Paul's feeling great, and I am too.
Puritan. Make it his oil for life.
They fight a constant battle here at the Houston Food Bank. Hunger knows no holidays. It never takes a weekend off. Thousands of Houston families go to bed every night with empty stomachs. Help fight hunger by dropping canned and non-perishable food by Channel 11 on Allen Parkway or at any of 34 local Texas Commerce banks. Please help Tuesday and Wednesday. The need for food never stops. Together, let's can hunger.
Conquering the fear of flying on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan.
Friday's plunge on Wall Street was not the crash we saw 2 years ago, but it could signal an end to the leverage buyout, with banks just saying no to massive loans for corporate takeovers. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about that with our economics correspondent, Robert Krulwich. Also this half hour, Mark McCormick. His company represents some of the biggest names in sports, including Herschel Walker and Chris Everett. And McCormick says business schools don't teach what it takes to succeed in the real business world. That'll be coming up in this half hour.
And later this morning, Life magazine looks at the 80s as the decade now draws to a close. We wanted to be the first one to give you a retrospective. You're going to get a little tired of this in the next couple of months, but this morning we're going to take you back over the 10 years that brought us the Reagans, the Gorbachevs, Madonna, Michael Jackson, and fascinating tales of two countries, China, Poland. And this morning, if you think that Earl Weaver, Curt Flood, and Paul Blair were through with baseball, you better think again, because in this half hour, they're going to be telling us about a new senior league. And also this morning, we're going to be talking with Kevin Dillon about his role in War Party and about his new movie that's going to be released later this week, Immediate Family. Now the news. Here's Faith Daniels. Faith?
Good morning, Kathleen. Hello, everyone. Topping the news this half hour, the overseas warm-up for Wall Street. Stock prices took a nosedive on foreign markets today, but it was no Black Monday by any means. The Tokyo market declined less than 2% overall. In London, traders hurried to a sell-off. Prices are down, an average of about 10%. The London slide is disappointing to investors. Wall Street's newspapers arrived this morning, complete with nerve-wracking headlines. Many employees are reporting for work early today to handle a deluge of orders. There's not much left of Hurricane Jerry this morning. It's just a tropical depression now, a wet and windy spot on the East Texas weather map. But when Jerry hit the shore last night near Galveston, it carried 80-mile-per-hour winds and heavy rain. It's already spun off at least a half-dozen tornadoes. 2 people have been killed. Tens of thousands remain without power or telephone service this morning from Galveston all the way to southwest Louisiana. There's still the threat of heavy rain and additional